A Ghostly Haunting in Grand Haven, Chapters 9 and 10. Chapter 9. I stuffed the flashlight in my coat pocket, hurried through the kitchen, bounded down the hallway, and found Angela in the foyer. She was standing in front of the closet, a pile of coats on the floor at her feet. The closet door was open and she was pointing inside. "Look," she said. Her eyes were wide and filled with disbelief. "Look what I found." I took a step closer and looked into the closet where she was pointing. And I froze. "No way," I said. It was a hidden staircase. The coats had covered it up and we hadn't seen it before. Now that Angela had moved them out of the way, we could clearly see wooden steps descending into darkness. Why would someone put a staircase in a closet? I wondered out loud. Because they wanted to hide it, Angela replied. For whatever reason, nobody is supposed to find this. Remembering the flashlight, I dug it out of my pocket and turned it on. Unfortunately, it wasn't strong enough to illuminate much, and the darkness in the stairway swallowed the light. "I wonder what's down there," Angela replied. "I'll bet that's where Dad went," I said. "But there aren't any lights on," Angela replied. "He'll fall and break his neck." "My dad doesn't always think about things like that," I replied. I didn't mean it as an insult to my dad, but sometimes he did things without thinking about them. Even my mom would agree with that. "Dad?" I called down the staircase. "Dad, are you down there? Can you hear me?" No reply. Outside, the old winter witch continued to rage. Her wind was frantic and feverish, screaming at the windows, howling around the eaves and front door. Occasionally, the house made tired creaks and groans. It was eerie, and it made things seem even scarier than they probably were. I took a single step over the coats and placed my foot on the first stair. And then I turned to Angela. "Are you coming?" I asked. "I'm not going to let you go alone," she replied. "Besides," she said, looking around, "I don't think I want to be by myself in this house anymore. We're better off sticking together. Stay close behind me, watch your step, and don't fall." Although the flashlight beam wasn't very bright, it illuminated the steps in front of my feet. The wood was old and weathered, and it creaked as I took another step. Slowly, ever so slowly, step by step, Angela and I descended down the stairs. Slowly, cautiously, we made our way, guided by the faint beam. Farther and farther we went, down, down, until it felt like we'd been swallowed alive by the darkness. Chapter 10. The darkness was cold and lonely and needy. It seemed alive. Even with the dim flashlight, it was as if we were descending into the gullet of the house, burrowing into its bottomless belly. The steps creaked beneath our feet, and the deeper we descended, the less we could hear the howling wind outside. Finally, we reached the bottom of the stairs. Here, the silence was maddening. We could no longer hear the wind at all. There were no creaks, no groans, no moans from the house, just silence. "This is really, really creepy," Angela whispered. She was standing so close behind me that I could feel her breath on my neck. "Dad?" I called out. My voice faded quickly. There was no echo. "Dad, are you down here? Can you hear me?" I shined the weak flashlight beam in front of us. The light was faint and watery, and we couldn't see much. Some shelves, what appeared to be some crates or boxes, and one very large box near a far wall to the right of us. "It doesn't look like there's anything here," Angela replied. "I mean, it just looks like a normal basement." I shined the beam around, trying to find a light switch on a wall or maybe a single pull string hanging down. There was nothing. And when I shined the beam on the ceiling, sweeping it back and forth, I didn't even see any light bulbs. "What was that over there?" Angela asked. "Over up to the right, by the wall." I shined the light in the direction she had indicated. About 20 feet away was a large box. It was rectangular in shape, probably 6 feet long, and was laying sideways on the floor. It looked like it was a refrigerator laying on its side, only not quite as big. Slowly I approached it. Angela grabbed my arm and followed. "It's just some sort of wooden box," I said. "It's probably used for storage." "See what's inside," Angela urged. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea. It didn't really matter what was inside. We were looking for Dad, and I was certain that he wouldn't be hiding inside a box. Dad can sometimes be a practical joker and would do things to scare me and my brother, but he would not take things this far. Still, like Angela, I was curious. "It's probably just tools and stuff," I replied. Holding the flashlight with my right hand, I knelt down and felt around the top of the wooden box. My fingers caught an edge, and I lifted. The lid was heavy, but it moved smoothly, opening on hinges like a book. I shined the light inside. Angela drew a quick, thick, deep breath. She held it, and I could feel her hands tighten around my right arm, gripping me so tightly that I nearly dropped the flashlight. I could only stare at the contents of the box. No, not a box, I thought. A black flower of grim horror began to bloom slowly in my gut, its icy petals worming through my body, wrapping around my muscles and tightening around my heart and squeezing my chest and darkening my mind. I felt dizzy. It's not a box at all. It's a coffin. It's a coffin, and that's a skeleton.